In this podcast, we share some of the challenges and difficulties in life. Content may include open dialogue about topics such as suicide, depression, feeling lost or alone, anxiety, addiction struggles, homophobia, and descriptions of bullying experiences.
Well, okay, welcome to the comfort zone. And we got Cynthia and we got Connor,
Hello.
our producer and director. And I want to say hi, Cynthia.
Hello.
Hi, Connor.
Hey.
And especially I want to say we have a new guest, and her name is Karla. And I've known Karla probably for a year and a half, maybe.
Yes, approximately.
And we've met and connected by our self-stories. And it was a true connection and a real connection. And it was emotional. And Karla, I just want to say I'm so proud of you because you're a successful woman. And
Thank
you've
you.
done so many beautiful things from the negatives you came from. So this is what our podcast is about, is talking about Karla's story.
And thank you for being here with us. I really appreciate it, and we really do want to hear. I want to hear your story. I don't know. Cal knows you more than I don't know that much about you, but I would love to hear your story, and I believe our listeners would love to hear your story. Whatever you want to share with us, I'm excited to listen. So.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me here. A little nervous, won't lie. This is my first time here in a podcast and my first time sharing my story. Well, I've partially shared most of my story to my fiance, Abraham, but I would say this is my first time I'm going to actually really share most of my story here, and I feel like I'm ready for that.
Can I ask you
and
one quick question before you start?
Sure.
How did you meet Abraham?
So we met at the 24-hour fitness gym off of Madison. It's almost going to be 3 years now. So this year, in October, it's going to be 3 years, so 2.5 years. And he, gosh, sorry.
That's all right, you know.
All right.
Be comfortable and go. If you want to change your thought, change it.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
You're
Brought
like,
back good memories.
yeah. Okay.
Good memories. Good memories.
You were like, dang, he's cute.
Yeah.
Well,
He's a sexy man.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was very different from other men that have approached me in my life. A gentleman, I would say. You know, typically men that come up to women, or based on my experience, men had come up with corny lines like, "Hey, baby, what's your number? Hey, look, you're looking hot today," or "I like the way that shirt looks on you." Right? Like that's what I've got for the most part in my life. And when I met Abraham, it was totally different experience. I was talking to a friend at the gym, and he happened to just eavesdrop in the conversation, and he just said, he started talking to the person I was talking to because apparently he knew him too. And he said, "Hey," he's like, "How are you doing, Delano? Hey, good morning," and whatnot. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, by the way, my name's Abraham. I'm new in the neighborhood. I've been here in Riverside for about 3 months." He's like, "I just want to introduce myself." And I said, "Oh, hi, Abraham. Nice to meet you and welcome to the neighborhood." And he just walked away. And after that, I didn't see him for about 2 weeks. And, he was on my mind because there was something about him that I found very attractive. I think it was the way he
has a
introduced himself.
charisma. No, just a simple charisma. He's easygoing.
Right.
He's like just free.
Right.
Yeah.
It was his charisma, right?
Yeah,
He was just
yeah.
easygoing, his energy, something about him, right, that I found very attractive.
Plus, he doesn't
Kindness.
shut up.
Yeah, kindness, and a gentleman, just the way he came up to me and he introduced himself.
Yeah.
Which was very, it was different. I was like, wow, like, I like that,
Yeah.
And which is not something you see often, not based on my experience,
But
unfortunately.
no, I want to tell you,
Sadly.
he had the same characteristics as Bob does, a talker. He has to always have attention.
Right.
Just like, yeah. I'm shiny.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's him.
That's
him.
Abraham. Yeah, that's exactly what I saw in Abraham when I met him.
Yes.
So, most definitely.
Yes, definitely. And, which was strange because I had seen him before at the gym, didn't think much of him or anybody because when I'm there at the gym, I'm just there focused on just working out, getting a good workout, just releasing all that stress. And, when you're there as a regular, you're kind of familiar with everybody that goes there, with the faces that you see on a daily basis. And I've seen him before, and I remember him not talking to anybody, always very quiet to himself, like me, just focused on what he's supposed to do. So when he came up to me and spoke to me, I found out that very strange. I was like, oh, he actually talks. So
he was probably like learning his environment and then just getting it like planting the seed, and then he blossomed.
Right. Yeah.
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 And then once he blossomed, you couldn't stop him from growing.
No, definitely not. Yeah. So after that, I didn't see him for 2 weeks, and I'm not gonna lie, I was actually looking around to see if I would see him again. And I didn't see him for 2 weeks. And I had skipped the gym for about that week, maybe 2 or 3 days. And I normally would go religiously Monday through Fridays. And that week I missed out 2 or 3 days because my schedule was so chaotic that week. And I decided to go on a Saturday that week. I said, you know what? I typically don't go on Saturdays, but I have to go this Saturday because I missed 2 or 3 days. So I walked in. And at that same moment I was walking in, he was walking in. And I hadn't seen him for 2 weeks. So we walked in at the same exact time, and we checked in. And we both just looked at each other and I was like, hey, how are you? So we just, said hello. And I told him, hey, I hadn't seen you in a while. And he's like, yeah, I was out, he had a meeting somewhere up north. And so we greeted each other and we parted ways. And I went straight to the Stairmaster because that's my routine. I start there to get a warm up, and then I saw him coming towards me, and he started, doing the Stairmaster. So he was right next to me, and he just started talking to me. And so he was asking me, how you been? What do you like to do for fun? I said, I love to go to Vegas. And he said, oh, really? He's like, I love, to go to Vegas as well. Like, I've been going there for 30 years, I think he said. And so here he is, like on the Stairmaster, like sweating, losing his breath. And, he's like, oh, so he's like, what else do you like to do?
He's trying to keep up with you.
Yeah, he's trying to keep up with me. So he's like losing his breath. And here he is struggling, talking to me. And then he just stopped, right? He's just like, all right, I can't do this. And then, so we just, we just hit it off after that. We just had a great conversation there. Sure. And, before he left that day.
It was your initial connection.
It was our initial connection.
Yeah,
which was nice. Yeah. And then after that, he invited me out to a boxing event. And, I hadn't dated anybody for about almost 2 years. Very happy being single, not going out, seeing anybody. I was just, just collecting myself, focusing on myself during that time. And I was a little hesitant to say yes because I was very comfortable where I was at. The last relationship I was in lasted for about 10 years. And it was not an easy relationship. It was not smooth sailing. It was hard work. And I kind of didn't want to start, I was afraid to get into that again. And so when he asked me, I was like...
Was that relationship abusive or...
It was emotionally abusive. Emotionally. Yeah.
So it was all verbal abuse and
it was verbal,
neglectful. Was there any physical abuse in that relationship?
Not physical. Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
Not a physical abuse. He was a narcissist. So he was more like, I'm right. You do what I say. Well, although he knew he was wrong, very controlling.
Very controlling.
Yeah. And
he wanted a Stepford wife. Yeah. You know that movie Stepford Wives, where they're like they're like programmed to be a certain way and be the same all the time, and there's no difference, there's no change. It's got to be this way and
it was
no
always
other
his
way.
Yeah. So that's the kind of relationship I lived in. So I lived with a narcissist. And it was
Yeah.
difficult. And at that time, I didn't know what that was. I didn't realize that I was in that I was dating someone like that. It took me time to realize that he was
And you were with this person for 10
for
years?
10 years. Yeah. But I didn't know any better
Yeah.
because the way I grew up, the way I grew up, how I saw men, what I was taught,
How did you,
Can
how did you
you-
grow up?
So my father, he was an alcoholic, and he was physically and verbally abusive. And so were his brothers. So I grew up seeing that. So I thought that was normal.
So yeah, get into a relationship, and this is like what you. Expect.
In other words, you were brought up and thinking that men controlled everything.
Right.
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 And you were just expected to do.
But I thought, in my eyes, I was like, oh, well, he's not as bad as those men that I grew up seeing, because he doesn't physically hurt me, because I saw that most of my life. It was just verbal, emotional, so I dealt with it because of it, because I thought, okay, well, this is better.
It's just words.
It's
not
right.
That
In other words, it was better, but it wasn't better. It was
But it
just a
wasn't.
different part of how people treat people.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like an upgrade in a sense, or like, I was comparing. I was
it
comparing
prob-
him, which was my mistake.
Well, it probably
know.
is an upgrade from that, but it's still
Right.
in that negative part of a world and how to treat someone
Yeah.
and how to make someone feel, or even just how to love someone. You didn't feel that.
Right. Yeah. So, 10 years of that, with the narcissistic man. And what woke me up from that relationship was I met a friend through a company that I worked for. It was a cleaning company. I supervised that company for about a decade as well. And her name was Natalie. And she invited me. We became good friends. We met there at that job. And she invited me over to her family parties, and over her home. And that's when I noticed her husband, amazing person, very kind. He was a sweetheart to Natalie, the way he treated her and his children, right?
You saw
Something
a
very
different perspective of life.
A different perspective, yeah, very
Yeah.
different. Something
Yeah.
that I wasn't used to seeing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow, this is different. I'm like, I've never seen this. It was very foreign to me,
Yeah.
and I was
But it
like,
was
oh,
welcoming to you.
Yeah.
You were like attracted to it.
very attractive to it. So
Yeah.
I started spending more time in her home because I loved, sorry.
No, you're good.
It is about emotions. It's about truth.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of the good part of your life because you learned that it's out there.
You saw something beautiful that was different than what you experienced.
You found something that you wanted and you needed,
Right.
and you were driven to that.
Right. It was,
Okay,
it was nice. It gives you a sense of hope,
yes.
knowing that you can, that there's something better for you out there, that it's not as bad as you think it is, So
Okay,
that helped a lot.
while you're in this mode right now, I'm going to ask you a question. What got you to the point where you're suicidal?
Okay, so that goes way back.
Okay,
That
okay.
goes back. I was.
But that's an important moment of your life because
Yes.
it's yourself and then something happening to you to bring you out of it. And that's a story I really want you to tell people because that is your truth, not mine, yours.
Yeah. So my first suicidal experience, I was 18 years old. I was already a mother. I had a first son. And
And your son's name?
Jose.
Jose.
His name's Jose. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that day, I got into a really big argument with my ex-husband. and well, not husband at the time. You know, we were just together. We had a child. I was living with him at the time under his sister's home. He had an older sister that he depended on. So I lived there, and we got into a really big argument. It got really ugly, and he physically, you know, he beat me that day. And so I was just like, I'm done. You know, I couldn't take it because I had already endured so much pain in my childhood already as it is. And I ran away from home with him because I was trying to get away from
the negativity
that I had back home, you know, growing up. I wanted a better life. And instead, I ended up in a worse situation, you know. And so so we got into a big argument. You know, he was, you know, very aggressive. I was beaten. And he left the room, and I heard his sister next door. She knew what was happening. She didn't come in to aid me.
Yeah.
And for some reason, she found it very self-gratifying, and she started laughing. And so I just felt like, you know, I was
it's making you feel like worthless, useless.
Right.
It's just like you don't belong.
Yeah. I just, you know, a sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I
There's no getting out of this.
Yeah, and that's how I felt. You know, I lost hope at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, you know what?
You lost all self.
Yes.
You totally lost all self.
I did. And so I was like, I can't take this anymore. So the first thing that crossed my mind was like, I just want to die. I don't want to be here in this world. So I knew my, you know, he had a gun. He had a 9mm gun. It was always loaded all the time. And I knew exactly where it was. So I went straight to that dresser. I grabbed the gun, and I pointed that gun on my head. I took the safety, and I pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. And so I looked at it, took the cartridge out, and there were no bullets. It was empty. So I was like, okay, I know it's in here somewhere. So I started, you know, turning the room around, looking for those bullets. And that same moment that I found, you know, those bullets, and I loaded the gun, my son started crying. And I just snapped out of it.
That was Jose.
He saved
That
your
was
life.
it. He saved my
your
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jose, that's the story she told
Yeah.
me when I met her, and we opened up to each other. And that's the story she told me. And I go, that's beautiful that your child saved you, because that's showing you the direction of your life and where you go. So this is the period of your life that you got out of it. And then what did you do? You started your own business, and you started growing out from that. So from that negativity, your seed was already planted. You were on all this negative things happening to you through all your life. Your son gave you the spark.
Right.
So how did you go from that spark to become the woman you are today?
Oh, wow. Well, where can I begin there? Well, you know, after hearing my son cry, you know, I walked up to him, you know, and I saw him crying. I just picked him up from that crib, and I held him, and I said, I'm sorry. I'll never do this again. And so he gave me a purpose to live.
Sure.
You know, I said, I'm not going to do this to him. I'm not going to just, you know, leave him behind. I'm not going to do the same mistakes my parents did.
Sure.
So that he motivated me to, you know, push forward, right, and to improve my life, you know, better my life somehow. I didn't know
Sure.
how, because I just felt like, what am I going to do?
He was the catalyst that you had to take care of a person, and you decided you're not going to do what you received in your childhood and your young adulthood.
Right, exactly.
So you're going to give him a mother's true love.
Exactly, yeah. And that wasn't easy because I didn't know how to show love to my kids.
Yeah.
That was difficult because my parents weren't very loving.
But your child showed you what love was.
Yeah, he did.
He totally
did.
did. He totally
No,
did.
he did. He did. It just took me time, It did.
But you still went through a period, even though you were growing out of self and going, and you met Abraham, but you were still like didn't tell Abraham your true life, but you liked being in his life because it was a positive life. What happened to make that connection really a connection?
It took me time.
Yes, I know
It took
did.
me time.
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny because when we went out on our first date, again, it was a bittersweet. I was excited, because it's been a while since I've dated anybody. And I had a good feeling about it, right? I really had a good sense, right? Intuition about
He
this
always
person,
made you feel comfortable when
Always, since day
you
one.
were around him.
which was
But
different.
he
yeah.
was getting that sense you had a falsehood about you. And he kept questioning you and asking you and asking you.
I was very secretive.
Yeah.
He was asking me questions that I didn't want to answer about my past.
Right.
And so I let him do most of the talking. So I didn't ask too much, but I let him do all the talking. And every time he would throw me a question.
does that naturally anyway.
Yeah,
so.
for him it came natural. Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely a talker. He loves to
There's a hard time to get
on.
words in edgewise.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I don't know anything about that, Cal.
Only when I drink. Otherwise, I'm introverted. So. But I've
Well, I'm
always
like
been
you,
an
so.
introverted person, so
And
I
so
don't
have
talk
I.
that much. So.
Yes, yeah. And so
There are those people that have this clique where they can just talk to anyone and just be out there.
becomes very natural.
Yeah, very natural. My natural is just being introverted. Have a couple of cocktails and then you can't shut me up. And then I become extroverted.
yeah, no, same here. Sometimes I wonder if my life would have been a little different.
Ma'am?
With a more wholesome family, maybe I wouldn't have been so reserved and quiet.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm like this naturally. I don't know.
Well, we don't have a choice of the world we're born into, but I think God's gift that He gives us is a mind. And when we see difference, we are attracted to it, and we grow out of negatives. We just do, and I think that's what the world is built around. It's called. I've always talked to the girls. I go, Bob and I always had this philosophy. We have a yin and yang world.
Right.
You have to have both of those, plus and minuses, negatives and positives. And it doesn't matter what analogy you have to have difficulty in something to know what a positive is.
True.
So it's a learning factor of learning self and what's important to myself.
Yes.
Myself is the most important person in this world, but my asset and my plus is who I have in my world. And that's what you're discovering, and you discovered it very well because you're a very happy woman now, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, I am. I'm in a better place.
And Abraham proposed to you, right?
He did. Yeah.
Well, you already blew it you already said it at the beginning. So that was supposed to be the part that gets you out of this negative part of your world
Yes.
because you're in this positive part of the world. And you wouldn't be the person you are today without those. You
Correct.
understand what I'm saying?
Correct, yes.
Because that is the strength of self to get out of it. And
True.
you did that very well, very well, very well.
What was the part that made you trust Abraham the most? What moment was it that you were like, okay, this is different than my past. This is a new thing and a beginning, and this is a person that I can actually trust and bring into my heart. What was that? What was that moment, or the moments, or how did that go?
I think it was the consistency
Okay.
of his behavior. He was always him. One thing I learned of the men that I've met, or just people in general, that there wasn't any consistency in their behavior. You know, I noticed how they were really nice in the beginning and they showed their best, right? Or a side of them that really
They
wasn't
show
them.
best self, but not their worst self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so with Abraham, it wasn't like that. You know, he really showed his true self from the beginning all the way till this day, you know, and that's something I've never seen in anybody, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
not just talking about boyfriend and my husband, just in general with people, because
Yeah.
it's really hard to find people like him. It really, truly is. And so this was, you know, something very different for me. And I thought, wow, like he's just him. He's not fake. He's not a two-face that you call like someone that's being fake and showing someone that they're not.
You know something,
know?
Karla, I'm going to tell you, it's your destiny. Because all the negatives, I don't know why you had to go through. Nobody can answer why they go through what they go through, the negativity of their life. But you're a good person, you have a good heart, and you learned love. You had to self-learn what love meant. And you've done an amazing job at doing that. And you're attracting the people that feel that way in your life. So you've learned the key of self-survival. And you've done that amazingly. And you did come out to Abraham. You did tell him your story.
I did. It took me time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I only met you a couple of times, and you told me your story. Why did you do that?
Because you shared your story with me.
Yeah.
And there was something about you that made me feel comfortable, and I was able to relate with you in some way.
And I think that was an amazing moment for us.
It was.
It was.
It really was, yeah. You feel like you're not alone.
Yeah. But you know something? You're in the most happiest part of the world because Abraham proposed to you and he made you a happy woman.
Yeah, he did.
Now, Abraham has a daughter and you have her son. And are the siblings meeting each other and doing as family things? Or
They've met.
they've met?
Yeah, they met. He has a son that's 20 years old. He's turning 21 in August.
Oh.
Yeah, we're taking him to Las Vegas in August, so we're looking forward to that.
Good.
And he does have a 10-year-old daughter as well.
So you're both divorced, and
We're
now
both
you're
divorced.
discovering a new life together. So that's
Right,
that's
yeah.
a beautiful thing.
It is. And I did set a 2-year rule when we met. I said, look, I know you have kids. You were married. I was married. We're both divorced. You know, we both have children. But I don't want to be too hasty and, you know, introduce my kids
Separate,
to you.
yeah.
And just, you know, I'd really like to make sure that this is it. Like, this is going to really work out and we're going to be together the rest of our lives, right? Like, I don't want to introduce my kids to different couples.
Believe it or not, I believe in destiny. In other words, things happen for a reason, and the karma of the world, it just comes together.
But you
Yes.
have to be cautious when you have children. Especially,
You do.
You have to be
Yeah,
cautious.
yeah. Well, that's
You do.
okay. That is a mother instinct. That's probably not Abraham's instinct. It's more your instinct because you're a mother.
Right. Yes.
So mothers are very cautious.
Yes,
about
we are.
everything.
We are. Yeah, like Mama
Yeah.
Bear, you know,
Yeah.
protective of her kids. You know, for me, it just.
But that's a good thing.
Papa Bears, get the hell out of here.
No, it's a good thing, and you need to do that because
yeah.
because especially what you shared with us that you came from. So now you have a child. You need to make sure that they're not going to be in a kind of situation that you grew up in. You want to make them have a better life, a better choice, better options.
Yes.
So you are not going to just say, okay, yes, this person is beautiful and wonderful, and I love him, but I want to make sure. So you said you have a 2-year rule, and that makes sense, and that's very smart for women to do. Not just jump in right away. Just be like, okay, let me see how this progresses, because that is very true. I have a lot of friends, and
You know what?
the men show themselves in a certain way at first, but it
Yeah.
doesn't last long.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
or the second they get married, I've seen that happen. So I have a best friend, and it happens. So the man is like this most wonderful, amazing person, and then just not even aggressive or bad, but just then the person just sits on the couch and watches sports all day and doesn't care about anything. So I mean, that's at least he's not abusive, but it's just like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I knew it was going to happen. So
Exactly.
you are very cognizant to know that I'm going to be careful with my own life and my child's life.
Correct.
So that's a beautiful thing as a woman to be able to be strong enough to say that and do that.
Yeah, so I mean, based on the experience I've had and seeing other people's experience, right? I was like, my kids mean a lot, the world to me. And I don't want them to see me struggle in relationships, right? I had already gotten out of a relationship just, nearly 2 years. And they see me, I'm there, they look up to me, and I'm setting the example, right? So I have to, set the example, right, to my kids. Although they're older already, they're in their 20s, but still, I'm their mother at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to see me as like, oh, mom's like seeing this guy and that, So I did share with them that I was seeing someone because I'm very transparent with my kids. And I want them to know where I am, who I'm with, because you never know, there's a lot of danger out there.
Sure.
So if anything happens, I want them to know who I'm with, their name. So I did share that with them. And I did, let them know that, hey.
You learn to become very protective of your kids and our others' knowledge of your world all the way through it because that was your connection with your kids.
Yes.
So.
And, and I let them know, look, I'm seeing someone. He seems great. I said, but I'm not ready to introduce you to him yet. I want to make sure that this is someone that I know I'm going to, it's going to work out and I'm going to spend maybe the rest of my life with. I don't know. Yeah. But I did set a 2-year rule. I did let them know. I share everything with my kids. I'm very open with them. We do have a very close relationship. And so they said, okay, Mom, they respect everything I do. And so when that 2-year mark, came, I introduced them. And it's been great ever since. He likes my kids. I have a good relationship with his, and so far it's been smooth sailing. So
I think you should write a book. No, I'm not joking. I think you should write a book, a little bit about your life, but the 2-year rule.
Okay.
For women, because and what you share with your children also is about your transparency with them, but you're also being honest about your safety.
Yes.
You want them to know if I don't come back home, this is what happened.
Yes.
Because that is a real
it's a
experience
real thing.
of women.
No, that's the real world. That's the real truth.
The world that we live in. And I think I have that mindset because based on what I've experienced in my life, I've seen evil in this world.
Yeah.
And, I learned that it's so important that you communicate with your family always. Because you never know what could happen. One day you're here, one day you're just not. And I've been close to, life-threatening experiences throughout my life. So I could say it's a miracle that I'm here, to be honest with you.
I'm glad you're here.
Well, I'm definitely glad you're here. And
thank you for sharing your story with us. Appreciate it.
No, well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
I
know you were scary, but I'm going to tell you, you did very well because you got very comfortable. And that's why it's called the comfort zone, because I told you, we will just have a conversation. We'll just ask a question, and you can edit anything out if you don't want it to go out in.
Okay.
Yeah, most definitely. But I don't think you said anything.
I try to edit Cal out, but
that's not going to happen.
But Connor won't let me. I don't know why.
If Connor does that, he won't get paid.
He's like, no, just edit that man out of there, please.
But this is what it's about. We always end up like laughter and having a good time and enjoying life because life is beautiful. But there is no one that in this world that doesn't go through a negativity in a life. But when that negativity takes away from a self person that abuses them, that takes them and makes them feel worthless, they don't belong in this world because they're abusing the most precious thing God gave you, yourself.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Kayla,
Well, no,
Kayla, I really appreciate. I know it was a difficult time for you to come home, but I know you feel comfortable, and I know you're good about telling your story.
I do. I mean, to be honest with you, this is definitely better than going to a therapist.
We've been told that
No,
a couple
really,
of times.
really, because I've had psychologists, therapists, whatnot. I think I've encountered 2 of them, and honestly, it doesn't make you feel any better because you're talking to people that are, in some cases, come up in a
They're
really
always
good.
analyzing. It's not a conversation.
Right, yeah, and so and also. Many psychologists, I'm not saying all of them, but it seems like the majority come up from a really good home, so they don't
They're
understand.
well-to-do, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. They don't understand, what it's like to really grow up in a family where there's so much conflict and so much pain. They don't,
Yeah.
so there's only so much they can do to help you.
Yeah.
But then when you're sharing with your story, like here, like I am with, I know Calvin's story, I feel better because I know he understands me. And that for me is real therapy, because I really do feel better about myself, when I'm sharing this with you, because I know you know where I'm coming from.
Yes.
And when I share that with a therapist, they're just looking at you like,
Well, you're a client, and there's wonderful therapists
Right.
out there, but there are people that are not really
They
equipped.
didn't go through what you went through, so they don't truly understand.
they
The
don't.
most
No.
important thing, though, is to talk.
Yes.
So if you have someone that has the most receptive ears and the heart to receive what you're saying to them, that is the most important part about sharing your journey, sharing your life, sharing your sadness. You have someone who has open ears and an open heart. That is the most important part. Because when I was younger, I didn't talk to anyone. I went through a lot of trauma myself. But at one point in my life, I became suicidal as well. And I tried to kill myself. But I woke up in a hospital, and I had doctors, I had therapists, and some of them, the therapists were not, well, they were psychiatrists.
Right.
But the social worker was there for me. And social worker, one particular one, she's just like listened to me and understood me and felt me. So that was a different kind of energy that I've received before. So it's just, but I realized you have to talk. Because
Yeah.
if I would have reached out to someone before that, I wouldn't have tried what I did. But you received your son. Like, your son was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I gotta be here. So I received a person that was like, okay, you have to be here. But what I learned, the lesson I learned, and I understand that what you're sharing your story with us. It's
Yeah.
just talking to someone. It's telling your story. Because you can't keep it all inside. Because that is very harmful to somebody. You have to share it. But you have to share it with the right ears and the
Right.
right heart.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
Correct.
But
yes.
she eventually shared it with Abraham, the love of her life, and Abraham's probably the best thing that happened to her besides her kids.
Yes.
So most definitely, because he's giving the love that you need, the attention you need.
Yes.
In other words, he's paying attention to your I factor, which you never got from your family and your upbringing and your first husband, and you're getting an amazing thing from Abraham, aren't you?
Yes.
It's the
a
right
different-
ears and the right heart.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It is.
So-
Yeah. And it feels amazing to have someone like that next to you. They can
So-
share with, and they're not going to judge you for it or see you any different.
So, Karla, I'm going to ask you a question. I known you for a while, and I know your story, and I invited you to come on the comfort zone. So, did we make you feel comfortable talking about your life to us on the comfort zone?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you did. I was a little nervous at first. I'm not going to lie. But, like you said, I've known you for a while. And I mean, I just
We
met you
became
and-
true people by just being true people.
Yes.
So and it's like, and it's hard to find true people. And
It is very.
No,
it's
very hard.
very hard. There's
Yeah.
there's no doubt. Yeah.
So-
So, but no, I feel very comfortable here, and I just want to say thank you for inviting me to be here with you guys.
Well, thank you, Karla, for definitely coming on our show. It's going to be a real popular episode. I know it will. It's going to be how many weeks?
I would say about 3 weeks out. Till it's
Okay.
posted, yeah.
All right. Okay.
But you have to give Connor your number so we can send you the podcast so you can listen to it before he puts it out.
Okay.
And he can edit anything out that you wish not to be told.
Okay.
Except for Cal. You just can't edit that out. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
you're stuck with me, so.
I'm okay with that. Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Karla, I want to thank you very much for being on the comfort zone.
Thank you. I
Oh.
really appreciate you being here.
Yeah. No. Thank you.
And Cynthia, I want to say good day, and let's have a good evening. And
You're gonna
Connor,
say, get out. Get out. Cynthia, you're out.
you're fired.
Ah, damn it.
Nah.
What a way to end an episode.
I thought this was a comfort zone.
It was.
Not for me anymore.
I can be a bitch sometimes.
No. Yes.
No, thank
give
you,
you a pass.
Connor, because he's amazing. He's done an amazing job for us. So
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here without Connor to do the comfort zone. So if you need to do a podcast, eventually we'll give out Connor's number.
Not yet, but we will.
But we got to keep him on our team right now. We don't want him to get too busy where he ignores us.
But
All
seriously,
around.
thank you, Karla. Thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Happy. I hope it helps someone out there that's that needs to hear this and that will motivate them, right?
I
To
believe it will.
Most
Yeah.
definitely, most definitely.
yeah. So
It does. Just
It does,
to
yeah.
have somebody hear it and listen to that, been in that same boat and know that it can get better
Mm-hmm.
or there's just a gleam of light that you can go to and
Mm-hmm.
get out of it, So
no, it's inspiring. I mean, no doubt. I mean, I've heard like your story, and hearing that you met the love of your life and someone that helped you, go through those adversities that you have gone through.
a lifetime.
Yeah,
a
lifetime.
lifetime.
Yeah, and that inspires you. That gives you a sense of hope.
Sure.
And I'm glad you guys are doing this because, like I said, honestly, this is sharing your story is better than therapy. There's no doubt about that, and I've learned that. I've tried both, and I think talking about it's definitely a good medicine for anybody out there.
Well, no, you remember I told you it would do self good if you did.
Yes.
I really did, because when I did it, it's just like, I know we were like not good at doing the podcast, but we did it, the first one. But as we kept going, we just got so comfortable about telling my truth. And the first, 6 episodes was just about my story. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
you've heard
is that when I fell
probably a
asleep?
good, huh?
Is that when I fell asleep?
Probably. But anyway.
Remember he said I brought laughter back into his life. So I got to keep it up. So.
Aw. So how long have you met each other for?
Bob passed away in 2018. It was probably towards a later part of 2019, 2020. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
amount of time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like every time we get together, it's just like,
We laugh. We talk about all the that's why that we want to do the podcast because we talk about all the serious stuff in our lives, but we also end up laughing because you have to laugh. You have to enjoy
You have
life.
to.
You have to go forward. So.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
and
You
we
do.
we talked for about a year about doing a podcast. I know finally I just said, I'm going to go out and buy all the equipment and we'll do a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what motivated you to start this podcast? I mean, I know it's sharing your story, but
I just didn't want to listen to his stories all the time. I want someone
Okay.
else to have to listen.
No, Cynthia has a story. Everybody has a story.
Of course.
And you know somebody, so it's up to a person to tell their truth.
What they want to share,
What they want.
share.
But,
Yeah.
ours is about truth, about life and negatives and positives and how you overcome and become the most beautiful person you are as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like planting the seed, give it some water, and watch it grow. And that's what the podcast is about. It's you don't get any sun, you don't get any water, you
Right.
just like wilt away.
Yes.
And
True. Yeah.
so the wilting away is where we want to get rid of and show that we'll give you water, we'll give you, the sun, we'll just give you stuff so you can grow as a person. But we have to have negatives in our world to know what a positive is.
Right. Yeah.
So God created a world where it's not the same. You just have to look at it that way. It's just not the same. But what you have to do is just like learn people and just meet with people and feel the indifference and accept the indifference. Because your I factor should stand up for itself.
And just go past the people that aren't good
Right.
for you, that are not good in your life, and that's the hardest thing to do.
And learn not to talk down on someone.
Right.
They have the right to be where they are. Like we have murderers and they were born or made this way, but they're there. So you have to accept that they're there and it happens in their environment or how they're raised or what happens to them, their trauma. Everybody goes through some type of trauma in their life, but they have to overcome it.
Yes.
And that's the I factor. It really is. So
Yes.
that's all our podcast is supposed to do is just get everybody's real truth and just put it out there so somebody can identify with it and make a change.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially from suicide. You're giving up on self so bad, you can probably save the world if you just live. Because we have no idea what you're capable of, and you don't. But you sure can.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's always a way, right? To
Overcome something.
overcome something. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just being around the right people to help you get there.
That's why you
that's very
have to
important.
ask for help.
Yes.
If it's not if you're getting abuse from your parents, you have to ask your school counselor or you have to ask a police officer. If you're being abused, you have to, do the same thing. Just go report it, get out of that relationship. I mean, it's just like, don't let anybody tear yourself down. That's why you don't talk down to people. You don't. You definitely don't take physical unless you want to become a boxer. I mean, that is a sport. So if you want to hit people, go
Right.
hit
That's
a boxer.
different.
Go
course.
into that world. But don't hit innocent people and people that don't belong in that situation. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, nobody's perfect. We all have our flaws and
Yeah.
our faults. All right. So, yeah.
I don't know what my flaw is. Probably that I don't shut up when I drink.
Could we do another hour here? I can go on and on.
But that's another thing. Our podcast doesn't have a time zone. We just go carefree. Connor is just like kick back and just like let it go. Because if he wants to edit an hour of it, he will just I'll just edit an hour out.
I can edit the whole thing if I wanted to.
So, what's the longest podcast you've ever had so
I
far?
think this one.
Yeah,
This is the longest one?
Yeah, this is the
No.
longest one.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
you're special.
Am I?
By about 5 minutes.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I think I only shared 1% of my life right now. Oh, my
But
goodness.
thank you Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I know we met a little bit before, but it's so nice to get to know you a little bit. I appreciate that.
No, yeah, and it's a pleasure meeting you all, really. You guys I could tell you guys are great people. And it's not easy to find good, genuine people out there, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It really is, yeah. You could ask Abraham.
You're actually my pride of getting you on here because we connected so well and so quick, and
Yes.
we just knew because we looked in each other's eyes and we told our truth, and tears were coming down our eyes, and
She
Yes.
already
So-
has a fiance. Just down, please. We looked in each other's eyes and we knew. Oh my
I
goodness.
was not gonna
Calm
do that
down.
without Abraham. No. He's good for her, so that's for sure.
Put the ring back in your pocket. Put the ring back in your pocket. Stop it, Cal.
Okay, that's the end of our podcast. So, Karla, thank you very much. And Cynthia, thank you. And Connor, thank you.
No, thank
And that's goodbye for us on the Comfort Zone.
Thank you for
And we'll talk to you next week.
you. All right, bye.
Bye.
If you are experiencing painful thoughts or are in need of support, please reach out to someone. Your mental well-being is important to us. Mental health services are free and available to you. You have value and you are worthy of kindness and help. Reach out and talk. For 24/7 free and confidential assistance, call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255.